Hello and good evening, everyone. I am Shubhangi, and I welcome you all to this session of Kaleidoscope session. Um, for those of you who know a little bit about An Academy, and for those of you who do not, I would like to introduce An Academy. An Academy is a one-of-a-kind online design upskilling school that was established by IIAD, Indian Institute of Art and Design, which is a brick and mortar design school in here in New Delhi, Okhla. Uh, so an academy actually comes from the design pedigree of IIAD and having imparted design education for over a decade now. Um, we have professional courses in interior design, graphic design, and UI UX design, but that is not what we're going to be talking about today. Um, Today, we're joined by Garima, who's going to take this masterclass on a UI UX career blueprint. With that, let me just introduce Garima. Garima is a digital experience designer with a passion for minimalism and accessibility, crafting strategic design solutions and intuitive interfaces to solve complex problems across diverse domains. With around 15 years of experience in digital design for print and web media, she's worked extensively as a freelance graphic designer for multiple early stage ventures, shaping visual identities and user experience. Beyond her digital expertise, Garima is also a graffiti artist with substantial recognition in the region, bringing public spaces to life with her bold, thought provoking artwork. Her multidisciplinary approach to design blends functionality with artistic expression, making her an inspiring voice in the creative community. With that, I hand it over to Garima. Garima, please take over.
Thank you so much. That was a lovely introduction. First of all, I'd like to thank you guys for being here after work. I'm sure it must be pretty tiring. I hate these late evening calls for sure. But I really hope that you all enjoy, and this is, you know, an interesting conversation or something that truly inspires you to think about your career into design industry. Let me know if you all can hear me well, if my audio and everything is fine.
Your audio is good, Garima.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. All right. So, yes, first question that, comes to everyone's mind when we talk about UI UX is what can I become, right? So, and there's so many different kinds of roles and different titles, some fancy words in the market for around. So, first question is every time I like to ask people that do you even know what that job role that you're looking for, or the title that you're looking for means, right? There are a variety of roles. There are roles that are specifically for research, specifically for design. There are roles which are specifically um focus on animation or lot of different types of roles, like similar to this example of cricket I'm taking, right? In the team there are like people who have special skills, and then there are people who are like all rounders, right? So what do you want to become, or what is your core strength? This is these kinds of questions we would be tackling throughout the entire session here. Yes, so like I was saying that first of all, we need to think about what is the role or what is our core strengths. So you can become a UX researcher if you're focused pretty much on cognitive analysis or a lot of scientific studies, or you love research, you like to talk to people, you probably like to analyze data, or analyze how people think, what they behave like, different things. Product designer is a very mixed role. So a lot of places it's called a UI UX designer. Mostly you will see that product companies, I'll define more about companies in my next slides, but most of the product companies have a title of product designer, which means that you're responsible for end to end everything from research to collating the problem statement to coming up the final visual design. um, this is the entire UI UX process, and as a product designer you're supposed to do everything. It's a pretty generalist role. UI designer is a very specific to visual design role, where your work will mainly be involved into creating beautiful visual designs. Interaction designer is also similar. It's like a mix of doing micro interactions, doing a lot of product design work, a mix of a lot of different types of roles. UI UX designer we already spoke about, and then lately a lot of service design roles have also opened up, which is a mix of offline online process, where it's not just a mobile app that you're making or a website that you're making. It's an entire process that you're kind of changing. It is about an entire service. So there are a lot of different types of roles. And then I noted some of the other roles that I recently heard in the businesses, like conversational designer, instructional designer. But overall they all are involved into similar work. The crux of all of these is you need to have similar types of learnings to cater any of these roles. They're all based on design thinking processes. They're all based on learning, understanding the users, building, finding problems, building solutions. They're all kind of similar in nature. So one of the questions again comes to everyone's mind, that why should I become a designer? Or is this how's there is so much that in the market, right? There are ups and downs and etc. But why should I become a designer? So my first and foremost reason would be that there is still a lot of opportunities available. Now, if I talk about companies or job opportunities, you will find job opportunities almost everywhere for a designer. There are service integrators, the top IT companies. They have their in-house design teams who are involved into day-to-day activities with their developers. And because they're large, like giants, they have been working in the IT sector for so long. They do a lot of digital transformation work, and because they have so much IT work, they have started to expand their services into UX, into design, and all of that. Now there comes global design studios, Design It, Frog. These are a lot of these huge design studios have also been taken over by some of these large giants. For example, you see Frog is a part of Capgemini, or Design It is a Wipro studio now. Um, Design startups in India, Think Design, Lollipop, Huge. These are also some really interesting, smaller companies or smaller agencies where they do a lot of fast shipping work. They're also into service, they are into client servicing, but they're really fast that, you literally get work every 6 months, every 3 months, you have a new project to look at. Big Four consulting firms, even these consultants, EY, Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, all of them have moved, expanded their consulting services from just financial consulting to tech consulting, design consulting, and they're also doing pretty well. They also have their in-house large teams. Coming to mid-level SIs, similar to these IT companies, instead of like tech giants, I would just say mid-level. And if you look at from a IT perspective, almost now all IT companies have their in-house design teams. So that's like a huge opportunity for all of us, right? Now, lastly, to these are all companies that I would say are into client servicing. Basically, there is a client that comes to these companies, and they tell that we want to make a product, and these companies help them to build a product. Coming to product companies, these are basically companies, you know which have their in-house products. For example, just think of Google, right? So they have multiple verticals. There'll be Google Pay, Google, um, probably some App Store, or Google Search. There'll be multiple teams, and all of these teams will have their own KPIs, or what do they want to build, what do they want to do new stuff. And accordingly product designers will find problem statements or will get problem statements and they'll work on it. All right, so pretty much these are a lot of design opportunities, or places where design hiring is still happening exponentially. And yeah, with this I move forward to, um, we know that there are opportunities, but there is like a really big gap. So for me, as a person who's also involved to hiring, I often see that, what is a big gap? What is it that, there's we still need a designer, but we aren't able to find it because we are looking for someone who has core understanding of design. There are so many portfolios out there. It is very difficult to really understand, or really actually gauge that what is a good portfolio, what is not a good portfolio, or what is a copy pasted portfolio. So what do you need to do in order to build your portfolio and start start looking out for jobs? So this is one of the things that industry is looking for. Apart from a UX researcher role, which is very very focused on research, uh, mostly all the roles expect you to have a balanced view of aesthetic and usability sense. When I say even a UI designer or visual designer, when I give a task to a visual designer, I expect him to have some basic knowledge of how big a button should be, or which colors would will not be readable enough, what color should I not put on which color. So some basic sense of usability as well, that if the navigation is like this, how do I place it, how do I place the icon with the text. So even for a visual designer, we expect them to have a basic sense of usability. And for a UX designer or a UI UX designer or product designer, we expect them to have a little understanding of aesthetic sense as well. In terms of UX designers, or someone who's doing a lot of UX work, most companies will include them in the entire discovery phase, which is where you meet the client or you understand the problem statement, you try to come up with solutions. But even then, solutioning requires some of your creative thinking. That is where the aesthetic part comes into picture. Or apart from that as well, even for UX designers, from a hiring perspective, we expect them to have a portfolio or something that is understandable. What is the work that you've done, what are the outputs, that what was the impact, things like those. So this is for me the right amount of balance where industry is looking for. Like I said, even this is like, if you see this, this is a swiggle, which was an IDEO swiggle, where basically uncertainty patterns are, um, we focus on the uncertainties, the problems, we research. This is how an entire research process works. So now again, going back to the fact that if you're looking for a UX role or a UI role or generalist role, industry expects that mostly all of them should have a similar process, that you look at the problem or you look at the work that you've been assigned, you deep dive into what is required, or what are the functionalities that might be required, what are the user personas, what are the journey maps for my users. And then you try to build a understanding of the problem, you come up with few solutions or creative thinking, and then you design. Similarly for a UI designer, um, a lot of times we have a hard time, when a visual designer comes up and says that, this is what I've designed, why do you not like it? And we're like, did you even benchmark? Did you even see what is out in the market? What are different new UI trends happening? Or do you even know that on a bottom navigation, how many elements can be placed at the same time? So all of this is again coming back to research, mood boarding, looking out for inspirations, building color palettes. All of that, I would say, is under research and you know building insights, or prototyping, or creative thinking. And then the final output is where we expect a designer to give us the solution. So what do I need to begin is, I'm sure the next question on your mind. For according to me, these are my top three picks. One is the knowledge. Whatever role you're looking for, you definitely need to understand and have core knowledge of it. Without knowledge of what UX is, what different design thinking processes are, what are different tools and techniques, there's nothing that you can do. Second is portfolio, because for designers it is not just that, hey, I have a degree, or hey, I have a certification, and then yeah, I'm good to go. For designers, it is very, very important to prove ourselves with some practical examples. Or, now these practical examples can be live projects that you've worked on with a company. Or if you've not worked on with the company, you can even do your case studies, or, like a hypothetical case study. But it is very important to build portfolio, because just on the basis of a document, it is very difficult to find a job, because people will not believe if you have the ability to do design thinking work. And lastly, soft skills. This is also something that I really struggle with a lot of designers. Um, so we have like a pretty fair enough big team, but in the entire team we always struggle, who do we really put into client interactions. uh, because it is so difficult. um, if we hire someone who has good skills, who has knowledge, who has a good portfolio, everything, but he's not able to communicate with our clients, or who's not able to communicate internally within the team, then it's like a real challenge. So soft skill has become one of our very important factor as well. Same goes when you're doing an interview, for a job interview. If you have a good portfolio and you have the knowledge, but you're not able to sell yourself, if you're not able to explain what you've done, what are your core skills, what are your capabilities, it gets very challenging for to convince anyone. So firstly, before we move into portfolio understanding of how do you build a good portfolio, or what do you do, let's again first of all you know re-emphasize on the fact that UI is not UX. I see a lot of portfolios every day on Behance, which will have color palettes, typography, and a lot of screens, and then with every screen there'll be like a detailing written about the feature. For me, that is not a UX case study at all, or that is not even a UI UX case study, because you've not really told me why you're building that product, who are you building it for, and what are different you've not really told me anything about the user. So let us think about it, that when you're applying for a UI UX role, or when we talk about what UI UX is, there are two different things altogether. UI is very much focused on visual sense, while UX is a lot of analytical thinking that goes behind the product, which could be doing surveys, or interviews, or doing maybe feature mapping, journey mapping, service blueprints. There are so many different tools and techniques to actually do UX. Right. So we come to the second part of the session, where how do we really what is a portfolio? We've been talking about you should have this in your portfolio, this in your so what is it? So portfolio for me again is the best of your work. So don't put anything that you are not happy with, or don't put any work that you think that I just did it for something, and then just put it for the sake of putting it. Or you probably think that one case study or two case studies is so less, so let's just put random things, three four case studies. There are people who even put, I mean, I appreciate the effort, but there are people who also put their cartoons and photography and everything. This is a UX case study. In a professional environment, let's just focus on what the work is, or what your core strengths or what your core role is, and then you can probably put everything else as just side hobbies or something else. All right. So UX case study, again, portfolio is a compile, like I said, compilation of all of your best works. Remember, it is a compilation of your best works. Even if not a lot, having like two or three good case studies can land you a really good job for sure. But like I said, in a lot of case studies, the most important thing which is missing is the problem and solutioning space. So, how did you actually get to the problem? Um, Right. Before I actually move to how to choose your product, yeah, let me talk about what are the core elements of a case study for me. So when I say you should put your project, or you should define your projects or case study very well. It needs to have some certain elements that gives a sense of understanding to the recruiter that you have understood the entire project very well, and you have been involved in the project. You have done a lot of user research, or you have done a lot of understanding. So when I also say user research, doesn't have to always be surveys or interviews or primary research. It can just be a market research, or it can be a desk research where you try to understand the domain, right? If say example, I'm wanting to make a new product today. For example, it's about cars. I could maybe do a benchmarking exercise about, which other apps are selling cars, what are their features, um, how big is the market, and I could do other things as well. All right. So, core elements of a case study for me would be, first of all, what was the project? Like I said, if it was a project about cars, I would like to describe, uh, is it my hypothetical case study? Did I do it in a classroom program, or did I do it for a client? Right? What was the project? Describe briefly. Now you have actually ChatGPT to describe, help you describe so well. But again, making the best use of ChatGPT or making the right use of ChatGPT is important. You can't just put random things that come in, as in a ChatGPT. You need to give the right amount of prompts, give some kind of understanding of what do you need from the response as well. Secondly, who was it built for? Uh, like, were there internal stakeholders, or was it built for customers? So, like, was there an admin? Was there an operation person? Was it built for customers? Who were the customers? Were they aged, young age? Was it only for women? Was it only for old people? So, you need to describe who it was built for. What was the target audience? What was your role? In some of our conversations internally, when we discuss about a few of our potential candidates, there's always one question that we don't know what this person has done in the project. It's like say supposedly it's a group project, and then we don't know, did you do the UI or did you do the UX, which part you were involved in. So it's always good to give a little bit understanding of what was your role and what did you do, so that it gives a little confidence to the recruiter when they're looking at your portfolio. Then coming to what was your process. So let's not, when it comes to process, let's not straight away jump to saying we did a IDEO process, or we did a design thinking process, or a double diamond process. That's a structured process for sure in the industry. But what did you do in a double diamond process or in any kind of UX process? what did you actually do? How did you implement that process in this project? Because there are like hundreds of tools and methods that you can do, but what did specifically you choose and why? If you chose a double diamond process over a lean design thinking process, why? So describe a little bit about the process that you follow. Output and deliverables. Ensure that you have some maybe wireframes. When I say wireframes, it could actually be lo-fi, sketches and anything. It doesn't have to, it doesn't have to always, you don't have to force yourself to make wireframes. We see a lot of people make the UI and then they convert using Figma plugins, just convert them to wireframes and then put it in the. So all of this, I think there is a lot of automation happening in the from Figma, and a lot of tools are available. But when you do such things, even on the recruiter side, it is pretty easy to catch because we see so many portfolios the entire day. So make sure that you're authentic in nature, right? If you've not done a mid-fi, that's fine. Maybe you would have done a low-fi. Put pictures of your low-fi, but make sure it looks genuine. Your case study looks genuine. In terms of deliverables, now, there are UI designs, there are prototypes. What all have you made? Feel free to, showcase that. Measurable outcomes is something which is very important nowadays. This is that's why I put like an asterisk, because I see in a lot of product companies, especially, um, they expect you to give an answer about, what was the impact, or if it was not measured, how did the design basically, or how did this product change users life? Was it like it was difficult to use, or and it took 10 minutes to book a cab, and after redesigning now it just takes 2 minutes to book a cab. So what is the difference or the impact that you see? Lastly, a few things: challenges, learnings, and what more could you do. um, any product is an evolving product. You see, like the biggest of the products, iPhone, Android, iOS, anything, right? There's always an update that is coming to you. So all products are evolving. When you add your, more, what more could you do section, like a future state to it, it gives an impression that you thought about, that you this is something that I could have added as well, but I couldn't do because we had some time limitations or whatever. As well as challenges and learnings. This is, I think this is good to have optional. You could, probably add that I didn't know design systems and I learned design systems in this project, or I tried out a new UX technique, or anything, whatever were the challenges, or probably challenges that um, it was difficult to do XYZ thing, and then over time I realized how to do it. So you could write briefly or vaguely about what you've learned from this project. All right. Yes. Coming back to my previous slide about choosing your projects, like I said, you need not put like 8 to 10 case studies, or for the sake of filling your portfolio, you need not put your sketches, cartoons, everything. So, first of all, think about what are your competencies and skills. What um, what am I really good at, and which skills or which role I'm applying for, right? If you're applying for a UI designer role, um, or this, it should be focused on UI design and not logo creation or packaging and stuff like that. So you need to define what projects showcase your UI design skills. Secondly, best of your works. Like I said, there are so many copy pasted content that we see from Figma community. There is so much automation that we see from ChatGPT. There are so many tools that are, making just can just make everything, right? So what is it that differentiates you from other designers? If you're doing a case study by yourself, like a hypothetical, please get over redesigning of IRCTC, or redesigning of Zomato, or redesigning of Ola. Let us think of some better ideas, better projects. So think of the best of the projects that you can showcase and what that differentiates you from other people. Lastly, you can also if you don't have too many projects which are like latest, it's fine to show your some of your older projects as well. um, it might have some good complex problem solving, or something that um, would have improved over time. So anything, so you can also show some of your work in progress or growth when you're applying for an interview. All right. Must have skills during an interview process. First is um, prepare for your introduction for sure. Many times when someone asks you that, okay, the first question, probably in an interview would be, tell me about yourself. And people are like, I'm a basketball player. I like to sing. And I also, in my school, I used to do this and that. Let's be focused. Let's talk about what your core skills are, about the role that you're applying for. Um, if you are someone who's transitioned from a different role, say you were into marketing or you were into coding and now you're moving here, like, be prepared that this question will always be asked, that why did you move from marketing or tech to design? Then you should have an answer to it. It doesn't have to, I mean, you don't have to fake it, but it should be genuine, and you need to be prepared with such questions. And what would you answer if someone asks you? um for an interview, every interview is going to teach you a lot of stuff, so be prepared and introspect that this time when someone asked me this question, I didn't have answer to it. So let's think about it. When someone again asks me this question in an interview, what should I really reply? Presenting a case study is my second thing about soft skills. Like I said, that it's very important for all of us to practice thoroughly about what the case study is. What did we do? Now, a lot of times there are gaps in your work. For example, you didn't do primary research. You didn't have time to do user interviews in person, but you did a lot of market research. Know that this question would be asked, that why you did not do a do a user interview. So what would you answer? So be and anticipate different kinds of questions. It only happens when you practice enough. Then explain the summary, process, problem, solutions, everything well. Take time to build up that storyline. That don't just say, okay, I made a persona, then I made a journey map, then I made a wireframe. Then talk about what is in the persona, what were the key highlights of the persona, who are your target audiences, then what is the journey map talking about, what was really shown in the journey map, what were the emotions displayed, or how did you come to the conclusion of building this wireframe, and talk about it, what is in the process, or what are the insights from it. And not just about, hey, I did XYZ 1 2 3 4. People want to know about the product, about the project. Lastly, acknowledge that a case study cannot be perfect. Like we said, that it's an evolving process. So when people ask you that, hey, why didn't you do this, it's okay, right? They will ask you. Let's acknowledge that, yes, I wanted to do this, but we did not have enough time, or I wanted to do this in some later stage, or something of that sort. Or the client did not agree to building that at this moment, because we wanted to understand how the product performs. There would be something, right? Rather than just covering it up, let's think of better ideas or better genuine reasons why something why a case study has some missing pieces. Lastly, networking, very important if you're looking for a job. Networking, referrals, these are very, very important. I don't know, which cities you're all from, but there are a lot of groups actively, engaging the design community online, as well as in smaller towns as well. There are a lot of groups even from um, so Bangalore, Delhi, Hyderabad, Pune, they're all tech giants. So of course there are a lot of design groups there, but there are a lot of groups in other cities like Jaipur, Indore, Bhopal. So find out, or look for design groups or communities that are based in your cities. Um, Find opportunities to network with those people. There might also be people who are from your town, but then they moved out, or look out what their journeys were. How did they approach these job opportunities, and etc. All right. Yeah, I think we'll just take 5 more minutes, and then if there are any questions, yes. All right. Entering and growing in the industry, like I said, there's a lot of that I see a lot of resistance or a lot of discussion about Gen Zs being hired, and unfortunately not performing that well. Um, so ensure that when you get a job or when you're at a position, you're able to sustain that, because only when you do well, um, right, I mean, it's there's so many layoffs happening, or there's so much so much is happening in the industry. So once you're at a position to get a job, you need to make sure that you have the patience to learn. You're still hardworking and dedicated at what you do, and you're passionate enough to design. You have the passion to learn new skills. If Figma is evolving, there are new tools coming, that you have the passion to learn more. And crisis management, that how do you make conversations with your seniors, or how do you make conversations in a group? What do you do when you're not happy that hey, my manager's telling, this is the third time I've designed something, this is my third iteration, but my manager's telling it's not good. What do you really do? So all of this is a lot about being the part of the community or being a part of the industry. Let us look at it more from a professional setup. All right. With this, I would conclude this session. There's a lot that we've spoken about. If you have any questions, or if you need more guidance, feel free to reach out to And Academy or me directly, and I'd be happy to assist you.
So thank you for that presentation, Garima. We're now taking questions. So I'll just give our learners like 2 minutes to
Sure.
just like put the questions in the Q&A box that you see at the bottom of the screen, so
Sure.
that we can answer them very systematically. Kunal, can you put your question in the Q&A box, please? Okay, so we already have some questions pouring in. Meanwhile, other people are putting in their questions. Let's just start. Somebody is asking, do you have any time to show us any great examples of portfolios? Great portfolio examples.
Yes. Let me quickly look for one. Yes. Let me just share my, okay, does age or starting late in the. Okay, yeah. So I'll quickly just take you through one of a portfolio that I personally really like. It's from one of designers from Microsoft. Um, right. Let me know if you can see my screen again.
Yeah, your screen's visible.
Yes. Okay. Um, yes. So again, in terms of portfolio websites, now there is Framer, Webflow, and there are so many templates available. I'm sure this is a template, but you see the amount of personalization that has been done here is just wow. Okay. So there is there are like a few specific projects that I see. Now, like I said, It doesn't have to, you don't have to bombard people with like 10, 15 case studies, but like a few, 4 to 5 case studies with few details about you. It gives a very good, impression. I'm not sure if these case studies are available though. Yeah. So because this project is live, this project basically directly takes you to the platform on clicking this. Not sure if there are, yeah. And see if there are projects which are, you know, confidential, or, you want to, you are not able to showcase publicly, you can also put a page of this sort where, or even some people also put passwords and, send them along with their CV so recruiters can open it. So, yeah, briefly, there are a lot of, recently, I've seen a lot of really good projects available online. Do check it out. Um, there is a website called Wall of Portfolios. They have a good curation of different portfolios, top rated portfolios from
Garima, do
designers.
you want to put these links in the chat so that our learners can
Yeah,
access
sure.
them?
Yes. Mm, all right. This website
Cool.
has, a lot of good portfolios from people across Google, Microsoft, Flipkart, Zomato, many, many more.
All right. Do you want to move to the next question?
Next question. Yes.
Yeah. Somebody is asking, does age or starting late in the industry put you at a disadvantage? Does taking a gap year to figure out what you really want to do impact the hiring process?
Hmm. Okay. When you say starting out late, I'm not really sure what you mean, how late. But if you're just asking me for 1 year of gap, I don't think it should be a problem at all. Because from a design perspective, if I talk about, we have people from all different age groups at same level. There are people who've not even finished their graduation, or there are people who've just done their undergrad and moved to a design job, or there are people who've done MBAs and done few years of job and then did coding and worked and then did not like it and then they moved to. So there are people of all different age groups. So I don't think like an year of gap will be like a will make a big difference.
But I think being really clear about it and upfront about it in your interviews and also in your CV is something that people do appreciate in interviews, and recruiters also appreciate that you have taken this year. And for example, you're someone who's switching your career from X design field to UI UX, say for example. So if you take that year and then you decide that this is something that you want to pursue, and then you're very upfront and honest about it, that sort of candidness or candor is always appreciated by your recruiter. And then everything also
100%. I
obviously
think
comes down to the portfolio.
one of the concerns about a gap year is a lot of people feel that you might not have done the best use of your gap year. But if you're able to explain that what and why you took that gap year, it's fine. It's absolutely fine.
And sometimes it's not even just about taking a gap year to figure it out. Maybe it's a gap year for, I don't know, your caregiving responsibilities have come up. Sometimes young mothers take gap years to just spend time with their kids and etc. So there's always that. And I think being honest and upfront about it is really important. And
True, true.
recruiters are also very accommodating, I would say, nowadays. And it doesn't impact your growth as a designer or as a person employee, I would say.
True.
Kunal is asking, I am interested in designing AR VR interfaces, so basically I want to go in XR UI designing, so is it a good field?
Um, for me, if you'd want to become an F1 racer, even that's a good field. right? But it's a very niche market. So the question would be, how many jobs are available in that market, and how evolving it is, or how many people are they hiring? Because I do see that UI UX designers, they're being hired everywhere. But XR, it's something that picked up really well during COVID, but I think post COVID it has seen a pretty high decline. So there, I would say it's an interesting field for sure, but that risk, there is a short risk for it. um, you might have to just evaluate your pros and cons.
Yeah. Moving on, somebody's asking, does not having a degree take away the chance of getting hired?
Where is it? Does not having a degree take away the chance of getting hired? Um, okay, I would say, um, if you have a degree, of course, it becomes much, much more easier to find a job. But if you don't have a degree, I think design is one of those fields which is still very accommodative, or welcoming to people with creative interest, or people who have these skills or capabilities. Because if you look at YouTube channels, there are so many YouTube channels of uh, amazing designers, but who are all self-taught, or who are all from probably some they're all self-taught and non-design degree people. So I still feel that this was a distinction a few years back, but now it's become, it's not that stringent. If you have a good portfolio and if you're willing to showcase your skills, you can find a job easily.
Yeah. Moving on, somebody's asking, is it possible for a person living in a rural area to work online in Great Falls?
Yes, 100%. In fact, currently I work for the Dubai-based agency remotely, and we keep looking for designers to hire. If you have a portfolio, do drop me, and then I will definitely take a look at it.
Great. Um, Vinny is asking, how can one stay updated on design trends and softwares?
Um, Two things I would say. One is read, or subscribe to Medium channels, or there are so many good design journals. Or other thing is, be a part of these groups where they do a lot of sessions, talk about new things happening. Friends of Figma is a great place where all new things happening in Figma is being talked about. Yeah, so you can become a part of these groups.
Somebody's asking, from my experience, I've noticed that many hiring managers are hesitant if you don't have any direct professional experience in the field. Do you have any recommendations of where to look for freelance work as a way to gain more experience?
um, I would say there are a lot of freelancing opportunities. Sorry, I would say there are a lot of freelancing websites, as well as a lot of groups where you get, there are WhatsApp groups, there are Slack channels where you find interesting work areas. Or even there are a lot of entrepreneur or startup groups where they keep looking out for building some new features, or looking for contractual or freelancers to help them with their product. So you can try that for sure.
There's also Upwork and Fiverr and all of
Yeah.
those uh, freelancing platforms. I'm not sure how much of UI UX work you'll find there,
Oh, I
but
think
these
Upwork has a
that
lot of work for sure.
yeah. Yeah, so there's always that also. Somebody's asking, I have a bachelor's in computer science, completed a basic UI UX course, and I'm particularly interested in UI design. I'm recently enrolled in graphic design course to enhance my skills. How can I effectively combine my technical background with design knowledge to stand out as a UI designer?
First of all, Why did you enroll yourself into a graphic design course? Um, UI design is a slightly different skill set than a graphic design skill set. But however, I would say you should try out a UI UX case study where you can bring all of your technical understanding of how an architecture works. What is an information architecture, or how does the system work? If you're building like a system, you could probably do a system diagram or something of that sort. So try to make projects where you can basically utilize your technical skills or your analytical skills with solutioning, so that all the backend or all the infrastructure work can be helped to do the analysis work, and then the front end part could be to showcase your UI design or aesthetic skills.
Moving on, I'm switching from sociology, political science to UI UX design. Certainly, I do not have an engineering background or developer knowledge. Will that impact my hiring process as a UI UX designer? What basic knowledge from different fields should I have?
This is a very interesting this is very interesting because a lot of people worry that if they have a non-tech background, how do they really transition? But I think one of the core things that you have is a sociology, political science background that makes you a really good I'll say researcher. So you have the skill to do all of the UX research work. Now from research work, what you need to do is you need to be able to analyze your thoughts. You need to make correlations and of your insights, and understand what can be built, or move towards solutioning. So I would just say you definitely have an amazing discovery defining skill, but you will probably have to push yourself to do more of creative thinking as well as move towards solutioning.
Right. I think with that we've come to the end of questions. But Ekta's put one in the chat box. If you were transitioning into UI UX from a different field today, what would you do differently?
I think when I was transitioning, I definitely didn't have any AI tools. Um, I was just looking at an AI tool yesterday where you could just give a prompt, give your business idea, and that website would basically create entire website for you, including content. So there are so many tools that are available now, which we did not have, which made it difficult for us to explain our projects, or talk about a lot of content work can be automated now. So yeah, I think taking references from what is available on the internet, and making the best use of it to enhance your portfolio is something which is very easy to do now, which is not back then.
Correct. Joydeep is asking, in recent days, employers are expecting HTML, Java, CSS skills from UI UX designers. For a person who is new to the field, it's quite overwhelming. Could you please put a light on it?
Honestly, Joydeep, that's not today, that's 10 years back. And if a company is asking you for HTML, Java, CSS skills, then the company is, I'm sure, some 10 years back. And I don't think you should go apply for that job, because I've seen, companies that ask you for an HTML, CSS kind of a role, then they don't have design stuff to do. They'll probably put you in front end.
Yeah. Uh, Kajal is asking, when you say UX case study in portfolios, are you talking only about apps that we have hands-on worked on, or can we include apps we have studied, analyzed as well, essentially a product breakdown with solutions?
I think it should have both. Um, because when from a recruiter perspective, when I see there might be a project that you've done live, which is basically an industry project for a client, or for a company. So that gives an idea that you have an hands-on experience. You're not doing everything by your hypothetical situations. But on the other side, if you think that the app or the projects that you've studied, you've made during you were studying are better than those, I would say keep a mix of both, so that you also have an opportunity to showcase the best of your work if there were no
Hmm.
constraints of clients or company.
Correct. I think with that, we've come to the end of the questions and the end of the webinar, right in the nick of the time. Thank you for doing this, Garima. Thank you for sharing all your insights about UI, UX, and the industry and the career and what your journey has been like. So I think that has been a very rich sort of experience for all of our audiences today. I think we've gotten one more question. Um, I have 3 years of experience in UI design, but I'm struggling to advance in my career. Can you help me with this?
Sure, I think you can, look out for mentorship, or, there are a lot of one-on-one sessions that also happen on different platforms. Do check it out, and I'm sure we can help you with that.
There's also an academy's courses, so if you want to
Oh
definitely
yeah, I'm
enroll.
sorry.
Then we'll be happy to help you out. Okay, we have another question. Rishit is asking, I'm transitioning from graphic to UX design after 2 years of experience. What's the best approach to securing a position in this field?
My first question would be, how many case studies have you prepared till now? And if your portfolio has 10 logo designs or branding case studies and probably one UX design case studies, it will be very difficult to find a job. Uh, Best thing is to focus, because now you're moving towards UX, focus on UX. A lot of people I also see that, because they have transitioned from, say, graphics or some other role, and moving to UX, their portfolios are filled with their previous work, which is good. But then it gives a second thought to the recruiter that they are better at branding or graphics rather than UX.
Yeah, cool. I hope we've answered all the questions today. Um, Thank you everyone for staying around. Have we another question? Okay.
When
When we do not have an industry project, is it okay to include product breakdowns of existing apps in the market?
Yes, but please don't do Zomato, Swiggy, Uber, Ola. Please find something better to do.
Yeah. I think it's more about showcasing that you're also a problem solver with your
100%.
UI UX skills. It's a little more complex. Cool. All right. Thank you guys for sticking around for this session. Thank you, Garima,
All
for all the
right. Thank
insights.
you. Bye.
It was wonderful to have everyone. And with that, I say bye bye.